Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
For those who don't know, I'm speaking to Mr. Gurpreet Bassi. And for those in the property business, the surname Bassi is quite prevalent, quite known. Firstly, congratulations. 6-7 years you've been in operation, but you've hit £1 billion in sales. Have I got that right?
Yep, so in the last auction, the October auction, we finally got over the £1 billion mark. So now, since 6.5 years since we launched, we've now raised over £1 billion in sales, which is incredible, really. And a lot of hard work's gone on in the background, but it's something I never thought we'd reach that sort of figure. So I'm really proud of that.
Congratulations. And Gurpreet, you're the CEO.
That's it.
Correct?
Yep.
Correct. So CEO and founder of the auction side of the business.
Yeah, exactly.
Brilliant. Now, I mentioned your surname.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I mentioned that is that means you're from a British, Indian, Asian background,
Yep.
where it is expected that all children
Yep.
will go to university
Yep.
and get their degree
Yep.
and have a career mapped out.
Yeah.
You went to university,
I tried.
but you didn't complete it,
Mm-hmm.
which is quite rare actually. So what was the rationale behind you dropping out of university, and then tell me why and what you did next, because it's not the done thing.
Well, it started just before university, really. I'd say even at school I was never particularly academic.
Okay.
Used to get in trouble quite a bit, but I was...
Okay.
I think I always struggled in like a structural learning environment. I think
Okay.
I was more of a doer, so
Great.
I used to learn more. So my dad and my younger uncle, Tim, used to run a off-licensing corner shop, and the time I spent there, I'd say I probably learnt more about business and educate better there than I ever was at school, really. And mainly, most of that's probably my fault for not listening at school, but that's just the way I was. But by the skin of my teeth, I got into college
Got it.
because I thought that's what I had to do.
Yeah,
so I went
that's
to
what you had
college.
to do. Yeah,
I was
yeah.
told that's what I had to do from my
Yeah,
parents. So I
that's
went to
right.
college for a bit. Again, there, similar sort of pattern. I wasn't really into that type of environment, really. I had some great mates and messed around a lot. Again, fluked and got into university by the skin of my teeth, so it's a common theme here. But then being at university and then being away from home as well, so there was nobody making me go.
Yeah, what were you studying at university?
Real estate.
Real
estate management
so
again.
you picked the right
so
topic.
I picked the right topic because I thought that's what I kind of had to do.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I had a particular passion for property or anything
Okay,
like that.
got it.
I'd obviously grown up around it and seen
Yeah.
it from my granddad to my uncle.
Yeah.
But there was no real major burning desire or passion
Yeah.
to go into property at that point.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I just
yeah.
thought the requirement to get in the course was fairly easy because I got
Okay.
it. So I thought I'd go in, and I enjoyed the couple of years there, met some really great people. I wouldn't swap it. Met some of my closest mates still to this day at Nottingham Trent University. But not having the structure of a home life and mum making me go to school or making me go to college, I was kind of away and out of sight, and it probably wasn't great for me. And I wasn't turning up, I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing, but it just wasn't for me. And I knew quite early on that I probably wouldn't stay the course. I did a couple of years. You could probably count on one hand the amount of time to turn up for a lecture or something like that. But yeah, in the end, it just wasn't for me. So I came back and had a frank conversation with my mum and dad. I don't think they took it well at the time.
No.
I've mentioned it before on other platforms, but it's probably the one regret I do have is for my parents, because of the amount of time and effort they put into my life and my upbringing, for them not to have that photo, that photograph that all Indian parents want with the degree, etc. So they've got one for both my brothers.
Yeah.
So that'll sort of soften the blow. But yeah, probably the only regret I have is not having that for them. But
There's plenty of time.
Small regret. Yeah,
There's
we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. Okay, so you dropped out of uni. Parents weren't happy. I can see that.
Yeah.
So what was the next step?
Looking for a job. I was writing to different businesses, not all just in property, writing to people saying come in and work for free as an apprentice, getting nothing back. And I had a conversation with my uncle Paul, who just bought, along with his partner Rory, just bought the Bigwood business, Bigwood Chartered Surveyors. And they said they were after an office junior, basically. So I started doing a few viewings and things like that there. So I just sort of fell into property, I'd say. I wasn't desperate to go and work in property, but there was an opportunity and I thought, well, I've got to do something. I can't sit at home.
Yeah.
So I went and worked there and on the old proverbial shop floor, really doing viewings. I was doing lettings viewings, rent collections, just the sort of the run around dog's body jobs, really. as an office junior.
And then, obviously, so where does the auction side, how did that suddenly emerge? Because there you were, just on the shop floor, as you said.
Yeah.
How did that next bit happen then? I mean, that's quite a step to go from shop floor then to suddenly...
So part of the shop floor was doing viewings, and Bigwood at the time had an auction business, and they needed a viewer. So obviously I used to go and view like a little house in Smethwick or sort of factory in Wednesbury. I would just do especially a door opener, and so I learnt my trade there. Working under Johnny and Perm, who coincidentally now still work with me now in this business, so it's come full circle. But yeah, learnt a lot from them. They put a lot of time and effort into me, and again, the timing was huge for me on this, because I started working there in 2006. I was 19, just before my 20th birthday. 2006, 2007, I was sort of running around opening doors, and obviously everyone remembers end of 07 and 08, there was the big global financial crash.
Crikey, what a time.
But the timing couldn't have been better for me, because when businesses like Bigwood were letting people go, I was such a low resource that there's no point in selling and getting rid of me. I was earning less than minimum wage, which you probably couldn't get away with now, but I was then. So it probably kept me on, because still needed people to open doors for lettings, viewings, and collect keys, and so I was still running around doing that. But the funny thing about it was, some of the guys I went to university with, who had then graduated and stayed the course, couldn't find a job after university. So they were calling me saying, can you get me into... And if I'd have stayed in university, I probably wouldn't have got a job. So it was complete coincidence, not by design at all. But yeah, it was lucky, and I was just in the right place at the right time.
So how did the Bond Wolfe auction thing happen then? So, like you said, people had left now. There was the skeleton crew, and so how did it from there to here? So
the Bond Wolfe thing it's a long time coming. So with the Bigwood business that Paul and Rory, who were originally Bond Wolfe, bought, Rory came and ran the Bigwood business. Paul stayed at Bond Wolfe. I then started working for Rory in auctions, lettings and stuff around Bigwood, as I mentioned. Over time, there's various different mergers and acquisitions. There's this merger with Curry and Partners, so the business grew, so I was part of a bigger business, still a low earner, still running around not doing much, still didn't have a clue, a plodder I'd call it. I wasn't earmarked as like a future star or anything like that. There's a couple of people there that were being pushed. I certainly wasn't one of them. I don't think people expected me to go on a mad journey or anything like that. I think I was just almost just where I was supposed to be, just keeping low maintenance.
Yeah, interesting.
So then following the CP Bigwood merger, so Curry and Bigwood merged to become CP Bigwood. And then a few years after that, a business called SDL bought CP Bigwood. Rory and Paul and everyone exited. Rory stayed on for a little bit, but they all exited. So then I was left in this bigger business. It coincided in my personal life with me getting married and settling down a little bit and thinking, I've got to do something. I can't just do this forever. I've got to grow. SDL was a great learning curve for me. Obviously, it didn't end well because I obviously left that business, but I learned so much there, good and bad. The CEO of that business was really good. He was someone I learned a lot from. So I started going along that journey, and then at the age of about 27, my son was born. And I'll be very open about this. I was earning such a small amount of money. I was doing a few bits on the side for some clients, doing some viewings on the side, cash in hand, and doing some lettings just to earn a bit more money. My son developed an intolerance for a certain powdered milk. So my wife said, you need to do this new powdered milk that we need to get. The price, it was double the other one. So I thought, how am I going to do this? I was already just literally living month to month. My grandparents had bought me for my 21st birthday, a white gold cutter. Yeah. And I remember it to this day, and it broke my heart. So I had to go to Surrey Road and sell this cutter to be able to pay for the milk for my son. And I remember driving back from there thinking, I can't carry on like this. So that gave me the drive, having him gave me the drive and the belief to push on it. And I thought, I need to give this kid the best life I can possibly give him. So then from then, that was 27 to the age of now, I'd say, that's when I really stepped it up. And then towards the end of my time at SDL, I'd become a little bit restless, and I wanted to be a master of my own destiny, really. And there's a few other people in that business that were unsettled as well. So I then left there, spoke to my uncle Paul and Marcus, Paul's partner, and said, I'm thinking about setting up an auction business myself. So yeah, they said, "You sure?" We did the usual back and forth, and in the end they agreed to give me a small loan. So then I left SDL, set up on my own, and the rest is...
And what year was that?
That was 2018. I left SDL. So I left in October 18 and launched Bond Wolfe auctions in 2019. And I wasn't, and again, the name Bond Wolfe, I wasn't desperate to call it Bond Wolfe. I just couldn't think of anything else to call it.
Yeah.
I didn't want to put my own name in it or anything. I've never been one like that, to want to put my own name in lights. So I was thinking, what do I call this business? Then I spoke to Paul, and Bond Wolfe was already an established property name, so I just thought, makes sense.
So interesting. They say people's journeys sometimes happens because of particular moments in life.
Yeah.
And you had that moment, didn't you?
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
That moment changed your entire mindset.
Yeah.
You shifted everything in your mind, and it's that moment. Sometimes people never have that moment, but some people have those moments.
I still remember the feeling of it now to this day. It's never left me. I remember it vividly, you know. So I got married at the age of 26, and we had our son at the age of 27, completely unplanned, but he was there, and I thought, wow, like I wasn't equipped at all to be a dad or anything at that time. You just have to learn as you go along, and that's what it was for that. I just wanted to give him the best possible opportunity in life, and I think I needed that. I needed the sort of jolt. I needed something. I needed a purpose, and him and his brother now. So I've got two boys now. They're both my purpose and the reason I do what I do.
So 2019, you've launched a business that involves people coming to a place, to see what's on offer and then to bid. So in place, in person. Mm-hmm. So a year later, we have COVID.
Game changer.
Game changer. So there you are, having set up a new business, and suddenly COVID. So what did you do? I mean, remember, you're still quite young to this. You're young to business, running your own ship, and with that purpose. But you got to earn money. So
it was a real. So we launched in 2019, and there was talk at the time when I left in 18. Do I leave it a little bit longer? Do I learn a bit more? Do I take the risk? Do I take the plunge? And if I'd launched at the end of if I'd left at the end of 2019 and launched in 2020, this wouldn't be a story now, because if we'd have launched a business from a standing start as COVID kicked off, we'd have had no track record, we'd have had no clients, nobody would have trusted us to just be an off the peg new auction business without a client base with COVID. So it was purely luck, not by judgment at all. Not by design at all. So we had that 2019 really successful first year, way better than I thought it would be. So we had that track record and momentum going into 2020.
2020,
But February auction in 2020, where there was murmurs of this Chinese virus that everyone was talking about, and I remember rushing out and buying hand sanitizer, because you used to have 1,500 people in that auction room, so we thought we need to get some hand sanitizer stations.
That's I remember at Signature Awards we'd heard something.
Yeah, we went to the awards.
Yeah, we heard something, and then
the awards was the week before our auction.
Okay, boom.
Yeah, so I remember there was murmurs of it, and we weren't sure how serious to take it. Then there was lockdown. I thought our entire business, the crescendo revolved around having a room full of people. That was taken away. That was taken taken away overnight. So that was in the March. During that, so we all went home in March, obviously, but I kept coming to the office still, because I thought, how are we going to remodel? What are we going to do? So I was speaking to Sue, who's our operations director now, Perm, and a few of our other staff. How do we pivot? And we were already live streaming our auctions, although it was almost like a secondary thing. Mm-hmm. It was all about the room, and we'd have some people online bidding, but it was almost forgotten. But
because online bidding was, people did that.
So then we thought, what do we do? So we embraced this live stream, and literally overnight, our bidder base, our buyer base grew exponentially. We had bidders from Singapore, Dubai, Australia. It blew my mind.
Is that because nobody else was doing that?
I think a few other people had started talking about doing it, and a few people had started doing it, but we really, really ran with it, doing this online, building our own bidder platform where people could register and put all their details into and build a platform. But it blew my mind about the demographic of bidder changed. So we used to have a room full of people, and people would see auctions as almost like a closed shop, a bit of a boys club, really, an old boys club where the same sort of people go to auctions all the time. We had more female bidders, we had younger bidders, we had bidders from around the world who wouldn't necessarily have made the trip to Birmingham to Villa Park.
I see your point, because it's now easier than having to catch up.
And to be fair, they could have done it before. They could have registered and been online before, but it just wasn't a thing. People just relied on going to the auction, queuing up outside. We could only get 1,000 people in the room at Villa Park, so we used to have queues around the car park. We used to sneak the odd extra 100 in, but it was packed to the rafters.
Interesting, isn't it?
So then we launched our first online auction in June.
Of that year?
Yeah, of that year. So we used a third party, and we still use a third party bidder sort of live stream service, really.
Yeah, got it.
We, on their first, so they'd had a couple of smaller auctions where they tried, so we watched a few of them and thought, that's interesting, we'll definitely give it a go. We had that many bidders log on, we crashed their system. This air system wasn't built for that amount of people, so we crashed their system. Our auction was delayed for 2 or 3 hours, so straight away I'm thinking, this isn't going to work. We did manage to get it online and going, and it was a roaring success. It's gone from strength to strength on that. We thought about going back to the room, and we have been back to the room once in between.
So it's all now streamed?
All now streamed, yeah.
Wow.
And I was always...
So it's a permanent change?
Yeah, it's a permanent change. It's changed our whole business completely. But I was always a big advocate of going back to the room, and I used to push for it.
Yeah.
In July 21, we did go back to the room for an auction. July 21 or July 22, I can't remember, but we went back for a July auction, 21, and it wasn't the same anymore. So we had still a room full of people. The atmosphere had gone. People weren't used to being in the room, and our auctioneer, I remember vividly watching our auctioneer for about 7 or 8 lots in a row. He didn't engage with the crowd once. Every bid was online, so we had a screen here, crowd full of people here, every bid was online. So the people in the room had just obviously come for a day out and a free sandwich probably. They were just sat there watching, and this guy was just bidding against the screen. I thought, this isn't the same anymore. This is not the same.
So behaviour had changed?
Behaviour had changed, yeah. And also, and this isn't the reason we stopped. It's a big expense, obviously, to book Villa Park out.
Of course.
And we're bound by their dates.
That's right.
God forbid Aston Villa ever got into Europe and they had a game on that night, they could kick us out.
They could.
So we always had that in the back of our minds. So we went back for that one auction. And then I sat down with our team and I thought, that didn't feel right. How do you all feel about it? And they all said the same. It's just not the same. So I said, why don't we put it to our client base? So we did an online poll asking people for their recommendations. Do you like having online auctions? And it was a huge landslide to going back to live stream. People preferred bidding in the comfort of their own home or their office, and so that's what we did, and it's been that ever since.
Extraordinary.
I never thought it'd get to that. People used to always say to me in the early days, you've got to embrace online a bit, but I was almost a bit of a dinosaur with it. I was a bit ignorant towards it. I was like, but no, our room, without our bidder room, we can't run. But obviously we were forced into it, and we've had to pivot and react, and that's where we are now because of it.
Wow, interesting. So the expansion and the growth has been incredible. Mm-hmm. I mean, from what you've just mapped out. During that growth and the scaling, there must have been challenges. What kind of challenges did you have?
All the time, there's challenges.
I mean, the COVID was the big one.
Yeah,
clearly that was the big one. But what sort of challenge did you have as you scaled? Was it people? Was it finance?
Yeah, well, right at the very start, leaving my old employer where I had a settled job, and I was comfortable. They promoted me. I was a director in that business. So I could have stayed. So that was a big risk, and taking a chance on that. And obviously, there was a fallout of that.
Yeah.
With the old employer, and obviously taking people on, and all of a sudden overnight I've become a CEO of a business.
Yeah.
So I had to learn how to be a CEO. I hadn't been on any particular courses or anything.
Can I ask just a quick question there? So when you approached people and said, come and work with me, I mean, they were taking a bit of a gamble themselves, because you're a young guy. Technically, I know a directorship, but you hadn't run your own business, so you must have been quite good at persuading them.
Well, yes and no, because a lot of them, as I'd become unsettled there, a lot of people also had been. So it was. But in my final year in that business, I'd made my mind up that I was going to back myself and go for it. My final year, so that 12 months, I almost treat it like a dress rehearsal.
Yeah.
So I ran that old business, the old SDL auctions business, like it was my own, and how I'd run it, and made certain decisions. I took a few risks, and it happened to be the best year SDL had ever had, their auction business ever had. So I thought, well, I must be doing something right.
Yeah.
And as I say, a few of the people there were unsettled themselves, but they still had to take it. It's still a huge leap of faith.
Huge.
And I still to this day I owe them everything, because they could have just stayed with a steady job, but they backed me, and they obviously believed in what I was saying. Whether I believed it or not's another thing, but I had to make them believe I believed it. But yeah, they took a huge leap of faith, and I respect them and thank them for that every day, really.
And on that journey then, as you were growing, you said there was lots of challenges. What kind of challenge did you have from then a startup?
Yeah.
Basically a startup. COVID comes, you had to pivot quite quick. And you've been growing amazing growth. £1 billion sales. That's a ridiculous amount, which is brilliant though. But what were the challenges? I'm thinking of other people who are probably growing as fast or would be. What kind of challenges they can anticipate, if that makes sense?
Yeah, so obviously there are the challenges of having a new business and doing things like employment law and things like that. Was something that I was just completely oblivious to. It's something I hadn't really thought about when I started a business, but then you've got to, I was reading through people's contracts with a fine tooth comb when they were joining us. There's things like that I hadn't thought of. Obviously that the fallout of Brexit had just come into force then as well. We had various elections, we had interest rates, we had, I don't think there's been a 2 or 3 month period without something happening politically or something. There always just seems to be something going on. And we kind of just have to be quite reactive sometimes to things, because you can't anticipate. Like, nobody anticipated COVID happening. So, although it's nice to have a bigger picture and look ahead, I think I'm more of a short-termish. So I look at the short. And I know, like my uncle's big mantra is having a big picture, and I do have a big picture.
Yeah.
On most things, but I think sometimes you've got to just look short term sometimes and react and deal with issues such as things like Brexit and elections and interest rates. There's always been a curveball, a challenge. You think just when you think things are going smoothly, then there's a budget or there's a Liz Truss. There's just something, and maybe I wasn't as in tune with it when I was working with somebody else. But it always seems to be something that affects the property market all the time. You think it's got to be some smooth sailing at some point, but so far there hasn't been. So we roll with the punches and we keep going.
And how did you find, as you were growing, finding people, keeping them on track? Was that a challenge as you scaled? You finding the right people to take you on? As you're growing now tremendously.
Yeah, people is always the trickiest thing. I think you speak to any business owner or anyone that runs a business, people's always the tricky thing, getting the right people, because when we started with a smallish company, I knew everybody.
Yeah. I
knew them all at the back of my hand, and I knew their strengths, I knew their weaknesses. It just takes one wrong person added to the melting pot and it just changes the whole dynamic. So I've always been really picky on who I add to it, and I've always kept the workforce quite lean.
Yeah.
And we are still fairly lean now, although it's changed a lot. We're a much bigger workforce than when we started.
Yeah.
And I've been lucky, touch wood, with the people that have joined us.
Yeah.
And they've all fit in and helped us along the journey. But throughout, you kind of always looking out for the right person, and it's difficult. It really is difficult, because...
And what do you look for when you say the right person? What do you look for?
I want people with drive, ambition, and if they come to us for a couple of years and they go on to bigger and better, brilliant, they go with my blessings. And I don't want someone to come and just join us and just be a plod along. Yeah, I want people with a bit of fire and a bit of ambition, and I've got some really, really good people. I like people with a bit of character. I'm not necessarily, because of my journey, I'm not necessarily looking for people with the most qualified people all the time. Although in certain roles we do need more qualifications than others. I like a bit of character. I like a bit of ambition and drive. I like things like that. And
is that, you can just tell by the body language?
Yeah, I think
things they say to you.
And you don't see it from when you get a CV for people.
No.
You don't. But when someone's in front of you and they say the right things, act the right way. I'm a stickler for things like punctuality. I like people being early and things like that. I just like that. So there's things that I look for. But yeah, I think I've been lucky so far.
I was going to say, it made me smile, all the things you didn't do at uni.
Yeah, exactly.
But you know they're important, and
but
that.
To be honest, in my whole working career, no one can ever accuse me. Even as a junior, when I wasn't, as I said, I wasn't seen as anything that important. I was always early.
So you had the work ethic. So work ethic is important to you.
And that came from me, from my upbringing. I'd say, working in the shop with my dad and my uncle, and seeing what my grandparents had come for, seeing their work ethic and what they'd built and achieved and done for us. I was just around that. Yeah. My mum and my auntie who'd raised us. I saw their work ethic and their drive, and I think that's where I learnt that from.
So interesting. So an environment as young can influence how you work later. So you saw, because all the successful people, some of the successful people I met, is they said they got their work ethic from their parents or their close relatives. They saw them at close quarters and said, it just got imbued in them.
Yeah, that's exactly from me. So from my grandparents coming to this country, not being able to speak the language, my granddad had to lie about his date of birth to get a job in a factory and a foundry.
Yeah, and quite a few of them did.
Yeah, exactly, and what he's achieved. And then my dad's mum, my gran from that side, I saw her. She's probably the most intelligent person I know. She's so on the ball. Seeing her work ethic. Then from my mum's side, my grandma from that side is no longer with us. Her work ethic. I mean, in her 60s, she's still working in factories and working. And I see it with my dad and my uncle in the shop. My uncle Paul going off and having his adventure. And I just saw workers and I saw graft, and it just became second nature to me. It wasn't something that I even thought about doing. It's just I saw how people were and how they worked, and it's just something that stuck with me.
One of the things about leadership is, as you grow and you scale, it's keeping everybody on the same path as you. Is that hard? Is that easy? Is that hard? And what techniques is it? KPIs. Listen, this is what we're aiming for. Is that how you do it?
It is hard, because not everyone's going to be like me. Not everyone's going to have the same drive and ambition, and they're in different stages of their career, and it's not necessarily their business. They work for somebody, so it's not all. I can't expect them all to be like me. So it is tricky, but we have, as I say, I've got some good people, and we reward people well. So some of the people that made the journey with me across, they've got equity in the business, so they've got a slice of the cake.
Nice.
So they treat it like their own, and it's the best investment I ever made in them. They earn well out of it, but they deserve it. We reward our staff well, I believe. In terms of KPIs, we're looking all the time about networking, how you can grow, and if people are putting the work in and growing and their fee income's growing, then I'll bring them along the journey. I'll promote people from within, and there's people that have joined us at a young age who have now gone up to director level, and I'm big for that. I'd rather get somebody in at a junior level, because it's my journey. And
you understand it.
Yeah, exactly. And I also know what it feels like to not be recognised and rewarded, because that's what a lot of my career was like in the early days. When I felt like I was banging my head against a brick wall, so I'd never want anyone to feel like how I felt at times. So that helps. And the main KPI every year is I want to beat myself, so I always want to do better than last time. So my biggest challenger is myself.
Nice. I like it.
I like because of the auction world, every auction's a result.
Yeah.
So I know exactly what we do each year, and I want to beat that corresponding year every time. And that's just in me. I want to beat myself every time. I don't necessarily become hung up on any of the competition or anything and try and beat. And it's just not. I can't control that. What I can control is what I do.
I like that. Not the competition.
And I am my own competition. So I'm my own biggest critic as well. And I'm not saying that's necessarily always a good thing, but it helps me stay on my toes and stay driven.
So I was going to say, you're growing. COVID came. All these things change. There's challenges every day. How do you deal with them? Are you, in terms of a mindset, do you just let the problems come and you just move on? I mean, you said you very much do things as they come.
Yeah.
Is that simply how you do it? Because some people can wear them down, and some people, they can't figure out how the best way forward is. Some people say, I'll sleep on it, and then get up in the morning and it's suddenly quite crystal clear. How do you handle adversity? Is it a mindset thing? Is it something you speak to?
I'd say there's a bit of everything in there. There's a mindset. I do speak to people that are close to me, close friends, family, and people in the business to get things off my chest. But I'd probably say it's probably one of my weaknesses, actually, dealing with things. I would say I do wear things a lot. It does wear me down. I catastrophize things. I've always been like that, and I've honestly I've always been like that. And a good friend.
I've never heard that before. Catastrophize myself.
Honestly, I do. And in a way, it maybe does keep. I can never be complacent. So I think it does keep my edge, because I always think the worst could happen. I always think that.
Well, it's interesting, Gurpreet, when I've spoken to a few other entrepreneurs, they use the word paranoia.
Yeah.
So they're paranoid, always, all going wrong tomorrow.
And I completely get that.
And so therefore they're on their toes all the time because quite frankly they think, yeah, we've done well, but tomorrow it could be all gone.
Yeah.
So paranoia is what drives them.
Well, and it's just how the business started. Obviously, I had no experience of running a business properly on my own. I also didn't have any of the scars of running the business on my own, which was
nice point, good point, yeah.
But so I almost had this imposter syndrome day one, which was a weird thing to deal with, and I don't think I've fully dealt with it now still, so it does still pop up. But a friend of mine used a really good analogy with me once. He said we'd had a record year, I think it was a couple of years ago,
yeah.
And I was already thinking about the next year, thinking, well, what if next year's not as good?
Yeah.
And he said to me, you behave like you're driving your car and you're looking at your dashboard waiting for a warning light. Instead of enjoying the drive and dealing with the warning light, he said you're looking at it and you're almost willing this warning light to come on. And I thought that really does sum me up. I am like that inherently, and I think I've improved. But in a way, I think it's a good thing because it helps me. I'm always on edge and always aware.
You can't be complacent.
Exactly, there's nothing I can never be complacent just because of that part of me. I'm not saying it's always a good thing because it's the way.
Could it also be? I'm no psychologist. I'm not psychologist, far from it. But it could also be. Remember that moment that we talked about with your son, and you never want to go back to that moment.
Yeah, and my son.
You know, you think I'm not don't have enough money to keep me going, and
and my sons now, both of them are my biggest driver, and I use them a lot in my thought processes when I'm thinking of things. And when I go back to my SDL days, I was promoted onto the board and I was a director. I was the youngest there by some distance. And in the first few meetings, I remember not saying much in the meetings. I think I'll just get by. And then another friend is another good thing. So I've got some good friends around me. He said to me, and I still use it now actually, he said, you know what you should do in these board meetings? Act like your son's in the chair, sitting in the corner watching you. And you soon change because you think I want to be a superhero for my son. I don't want to be a shrinking violet. I don't want to sit there. I want him to think that's my dad and I'm proud of him. So I do use that still to this day. Just think, if the boys are watching me, how would I behave? What would I do? And I do use it.
Interesting.
I do use it. It's been good for me.
Interesting. That's very interesting. We haven't got much longer to go, so just 2-3 last questions. Mm-hmm. You've referred to your sons.
Mm-hmm.
So because you're still very young, how do you manage life and work balance? Is that easy or is that difficult?
Difficult. Having a good wife helps, and she's brilliant. She picks up a lot of the slack. She does a lot of the heavy lifting. She's a real star of the show, I'd say. I've got better at it now. I think I missed out a lot with my oldest son because obviously, as explained, having him, I thought I've got to up my game here. So I put more time into work and I missed out on a lot of things which I regret now, but I did it for the right reason. Having our second son during lockdown in 2021, I promised myself that I wouldn't fall into that trap again. So I used to be the first in, last out. I still am normally the first in. Maybe Perm, who works with me as well, was in as well. So I'm out of the way for all the school bit in the morning because I get in the way anyway. So my wife will tell me to get out of the house. So I get to work early, but I do my best most days to be home for dinner and bedtime. So I want to be present. And with my oldest son, I missed a lot.
Yeah.
And I do kick myself, but it's.
But is that part of starting a business, growing a business? You have to accept that.
Yeah, it is.
Am I right?
From the business side, yeah, but from the dad in you, it's difficult. It's difficult I'd say for my first son, I was a father, but my second son really taught me how to be a dad, really, because I was there more and more present, and I was at a bit different stage in my life as well. We were obviously more comfortable, but I made the vow to myself that I'd do my holiday, spend more time with the kids every week, at least once or twice a week. I'll collect them from an after school club, so I'm more present now. But it's a challenge for most business owners. I think you probably find that having this balance, but you can never really switch off. I've got better at it when I'm on holiday, turning my phone off, but if you really want to be successful, you can't really. If I'm just block everything out, I'll just come back to an absolute tornado. So I always have to keep my eye on, and my family get it, my wife gets it. As I say, she's been an absolute rock for me, and even setting up the business, it was a big risk for her as well because she had a settled life. But she backed me 100%, and it obviously affected her life materially day one because there was challenges. But I think she made the right decision.
Brilliant. We're getting close now. In terms of brand, you talked about the Bond Wolfe brand. How important is it for business now to be very careful with its brand?
Yeah.
I think with social media now, your brand can be just destroyed in seconds.
Yeah.
By someone maybe not so in the old days, but now, and obviously trust a brand. You mentioned that had you not got that 1 year in before COVID and built a brand, you wouldn't be here today.
Exactly.
For you to keep growing at the pace you're growing, brand becomes ever more important, because if someone's making a decision, placing business with you or someone else, the brand. So how important is brand to you, and what's your advice to other people around brand?
This particular brand is really important to me because it's a brand that my uncle and his partner started, so I almost feel protective of it from that point of view. What we've done with the brand has changed it a lot. I think since I launched the auction business, the Bond Wolfe colours and brand used to be a blue, and it was known for being a black country commercial business.
That's right.
I think we've changed that. We've changed the colour, which is obvious, but I think we've put it on a bigger scale. But as you say, as you grow, particularly with the online world now, it just takes one thing, particularly with social media, and it just takes. And there are people out there with bad intentions who want to bring brands down. I've seen certain comments that people write about things, and you think, it gets my back up. Because it's such an important brand to me. I think sometimes, I wish I just used a brand that had no real affiliation, but then I don't think it would have been the same as it is now. So it was for the right reason, but brand is so important, and you've got to always keep an eye on everything and oversee, because we've got a marketing department, but I still keep an eye on all the press releases that go out, any social media posts we do. I mean, I don't understand it, but this TikTok generation, our younger staff, they're doing things on TikTok and they're saying, well, it's great for the brand. So they're doing it. I'm keeping an eye on it. I don't get it, but it's great and it's growing. It's getting eyes on our business. But again, there are also people with bad intentions that it does bring. But so I think it's so important.
And part of your brand is having the right people working for you.
And as I say, I'll keep going back to it, but I'm so lucky to have the people that I've got around me now. I wouldn't swap any of them. They've been brilliant for us.
It's interesting you said, and I've now only got the last two to go, the role of property. And it's interesting that you said very few things out there that happen politically don't affect, but they all do. Yeah. So almost you get the sense of where property is price-wise, selling-wise, buying-wise, is an indicator of how the economy is going.
Yeah.
Is that right? So would you say the role of property in the Midlands? My impression is you operate largely in the Midlands.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Mainly across the West Midlands. We do obviously the East Midlands, but since we've gone online, we've gone further afield. But mainly our core is the Midlands region, and that's our lifeblood. And
would you still continue to say that property is the central plank of a city, of a destination? Because if you get that right. If you get the real estate right, then everything else follows.
I think particularly in our region. I think particularly in the Midlands region. I think it's such an important part of our region, the demographic of our community. It's a huge thing. I mean, a vibrant property industry and businesses, they drive lawyers, they drive architects, they drive builders, they drive. There's so many other businesses, banks, that feed off property, so it's important for us to keep a strong property industry.
And would you say where is the property industry? Is it bubbling along nicely? Is it quiet? Is it on its way up?
Tricky.
What do you think?
Tricky at the moment, I would say.
Tricky, by the way, at the moment is now December. Just in case somebody watches this 6 months.
So
down
we just
the line.
I think we just obviously had the budget, which I'm not going to labour. Don't want it to be a political podcast or anything like that. But it's. It has been tricky. So the first 6-7 months of the year, if you ask me, I would say it's bubbling along better than I thought last year. Some of the forecasts we've outperformed. Second half of the year, this delay of the budget, I don't actually think anything in the budget should really adversely affect the local market. Might affect London with some of the mansion tax. I don't think it would affect the local market, but if I'm honest, I think the damage is already done. With some of the leaks, with the delay, so that we're kind of picking up the pieces a little bit from that. So we'll see in the next month or so what that brings.
And final question, so before I move to real, with the property side, Is your business, I think I know the answer to this, completely subservient to the way the property market's going? So in other words, the property market falls off the cliff.
Yeah.
You fall off the cliff. Or would you say there's always going to be?
Yeah, I'd say with auction, particularly the auction, obviously we've got the agency business, we've got a few other various business, property management business, or recovery business. I'd say the auction business is almost an indicator to the property market, so we can read the market from how the auctions are doing. But it can, when the market's great, auctions can still thrive because prices are strong and people use auctions. But in a bad market where there's more debt and more recovery, we can thrive there as well. So I think we can. We're very lucky in both ways. So the auction market is quite pivots either way.
Final question then.
Okay.
You've been through it. Mm-hmm. Young age, set the business up, huge growth, fantastic. But if sitting in front of you was an entrepreneur who's thinking of setting up a business, what advice would you give them?
Take your time, don't rush. I was in a massive rush at the start. Take your time. Know your business, know your industry. I think it's a gift and a curse that there's so much online content, podcasts, videos, everything's at your fingertips, so you can go and learn from people really easily without having to knock on doors. You can pick a lot of stuff up. Look at the industry you're going to, look at what some of the competitors do well and what they do not so well. Get good people, get good mentors. But people say, I hear these things, can entrepreneurship be taught? Yeah,
I was going to say, I was going to ask you, I've got here, can it be taught?
Yeah, I've definitely learned it, and I think we're always learning all the time, because if you stop learning, you're almost going backwards, because the entrepreneur or the business person that I was a few years ago is completely different to now, because there's been the rise in technology with COVID, and there's now this big rise in AI as well, which is something we're going to all have to get on board with. Otherwise, you'll be left behind. So it's something we're looking at internally about how do we grow and how do we pivot. So we're always learning. So it can be taught 1,000,000%.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sorry, did you say it can be taught? You can learn it?
I think so. Absolutely. I think that
even if you've never done something, you can still.
I think some people have a flair for it, and I think certain environments help people. As I say, I saw entrepreneurs my whole life, so that helps.
Yeah.
But I think in this day and age, as I say, there's so much content and so much people for you to go and read and learn from. I think you can learn.
Well, Gurpreet, I'm just going to summarise some of the stuff you said. Thank you very much for your time. It was interesting. You talked about how sometimes it's moments in life that can change you, and you talked about your son providing you that moment. And you talked about how moments can shift your mind. And in fact, you flipped.
Yeah.
And your whole mindset changed. You've talked about the challenges, particularly at that age, running a business. Interesting, you said you've got to back yourself.
Yeah.
And if you're going to back yourself, there's a chance other people will believe in you.
Yeah.
But that's really, really important, that you really do back yourself. You said getting the right people in is really important.
Yeah.
It's not about qualifications, not about a CV. It's whether they have the same drive and ambition and character. Interesting, you said even the basic skills like punctuality are so important, because they tell you a lot about the person, and work ethic. So these are all the things you'd expect an entrepreneur to say.
Yeah.
Really good when you said, well, look, you've got to accept when you take people on, they're different to you.
Yeah.
They have different motivations, and if you understand that, then you know how to reward them. And I think the thing you got right from day one was that you got the right people around you, and you gave them a stake.
Yeah.
And therefore they were going in the right direction.
Exactly.
And you believe in, and I love this point, is promote where you can, even junior people, because you know what it's like being a junior. You was one.
Absolutely.
And if you understand that, then you know what makes them tick. I love the bit that you said, you don't compete with the competition, you compete with yourself.
Yeah.
I think that's really powerful. You're your own main motivator. And if you've got challenges, talk to other people. And sometimes it's good to be paranoid, because if you're
I can't help it, I understand.
if you're paranoid, it drives you, and then the word complacency doesn't come in, because actually you accept that tomorrow tomorrow could be disastrous. If you're preparing all the time, you won't get caught. Interesting that you thought and said and still feel, and maybe that's the paranoia, is the imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
And you know, some people say you shouldn't have imposter. But there is a school of thought which says if you have that, there is no chance of you being above your station. There's no chance of you failing because you're on the ball all the time, and you just don't have that I'm the best. So in fact, it's quite good. And they say those people with imposter syndrome have a propensity to learn more.
Yeah.
Because they're always continuing and wanting to learn, because they never think at any stage, I'm done.
But with it, you can't control whether you've got it or not. If you've got it, it's just in me. So you know,
we've accepted that work-life balance is always difficult.
Yeah.
Particularly in the early stages of setting up, because you have to give it everything, and then over time you feel you're getting better at it. But I think it's part of setting up a new business. Something has to give, because otherwise you're not going to succeed. You're very protective, quite rightly, of your brand, and part of that is making sure the right people are in place. You've got a great business model, because whether there's a recession or not, people are still going to have to sell property, whether it's for the right reasons or the wrong reasons. I loved your little final pieces of advice for somebody setting up. Take your time. In today's social media environment, everybody's in a hurry.
And honestly, it does matter. I speak to some of our staff now, and whether they're ordering a t-shirt or a pair of trainers, if it's not the next day, if you have to wait 2 days for it, then we're not going to order it. Then you think, But people are in such a hurry all the time. They need to relax.
So take your time. A lot of people don't do enough research on their business idea or the competition. I think that's really important. You said, actually, becoming an entrepreneur can be a gift and a curse. It can go either way. So make sure you learn. I love the point that you're always continuing to learn. Look at your competition. They may be doing great things that you could match, or maybe they're things doing badly and you know what to avoid.
Exactly.
Mentors is a good one, and I think you've surrounded yourself with good people on your journey, Paul Bassi being one of them, and we all know who he is. And of course, you always say, keep learning. And what I really liked was that you're a totally different person than when you set this business up. Completely different. And I think people have to accept if they're different today than yesterday, they've grown.
Do you know what really helped? And I should have said this earlier on, actually. The Signature Awards did help me massively.
Nice.
Winning that, I think maybe it was 27 or 28, I won Young Business Person of the Year.
That's right.
All of a sudden, people recognised me, that kind of like, I had a bit of weight behind me that wasn't just my uncle's nephew or thing. I suddenly had my own identity, and I think I definitely felt the shift then. It was big for me. So anybody that's going to be on the night and winning awards, it means a lot, and it did wonders for me.
I thought it was funny, and I said this to Stuart earlier, and I said, I noticed to Craig, and I said, I just so fed up of Gurpreet live. She said, we're going to have to ban you from entering anymore because, well, listen, the judges and everyone agreed you've done a fabulous job, and not many people do I sit in front of me within 5-6 years saying, we've had £1 billion in sales revenue. I mean, that's extraordinary. So, in view of 6-7 years tops, you've done a brilliant job. I think you're a credit to the region. You're a credit to your family. You're a credit to the sector, and you said it. Brand is all important, and I think you're doing a brilliant job of not only just protecting it, but growing the brand. Gurpreet, thank you very much for your time. I know you're a busy chap. And thank you for all the support you've given, certainly the Signature Awards and everything else we do. And long may it continue. Thank you. Thank you
to you in the Signature Awards as well. As I said, winning that Young Business Person of the Year award is massive for me, and now it's gone full circle to now being headline sponsor at the next one. So it's our recognition for all the things you've done for us as well, and we support your brand and we respect you and your business.
Thank you very much, Gurpreet.
Thank you.